Eric Wood, the former Bill and Pro Bowler, is now joining us live. So let's go back to last weekend. Any concern for you that the Bills on both lines at times felt a little overwhelmed?
A little bit, especially the lack of pass rush in the last game. Phillip Rivers had zero. They didn't sack him at all. Really didn't even hardly knock him down. So the lack of pass rush from the defensive line I thought was concerning. As far as offensively, I thought the offensive line played a solid game. The Buffalo Bills aren't going to road grade anybody. That's not what they're looking to do this year. They're looking to throw the ball around. Josh Allen may have got some happy feet. I feel like the Bills came out just a touch tight in that game.
Yeah.
And maybe that comes with a 13-3 record. You're a home favorite by 6.5 points, and you're expected to win your first playoff game in 25 years. I thought they were a little tight early on. I thought Josh maybe scrambled outside the pocket a little quick, but as the game went on, they really settled in.
Now, let's talk about Lamar Jackson. You can't really, Eric, I think one of the issues facing Lamar is you can't duplicate it at practice. You can go watch film all day, but when those first couple of plays for Lamar Jackson, it's a video game. There's nothing like it.
Right.
Kind of your sense of what Buffalo needs to do defensively to slow down Lamar.
Yeah, so I'm super familiar with Lamar. He went to my college alma mater, University of Louisville. I played in Greg Roman's offense in Buffalo. Their offensive line coach, Joe D'Alessandris, was on Chan Gailey's staff in Buffalo. This is a Baltimore offense I'm super familiar with. And this Buffalo defense played extremely well against Baltimore in 2019 when they set the whole league on fire and Lamar Jackson was the unanimous MVP of the league. They held Lamar to under 200 yards of total offense, which in 2019 was completely unheard of. And I thought what Buffalo did a good job of was they didn't completely abandon what they do defensively. I played under Greg Roman. We had Tyrod Taylor. We watched a lot of film of when he had Colin Kaepernick with the 49ers. When teams try to match speed with speed at the quarterback position, we would simply run them over. When they would put safeties that could maybe match Tyrod's speed in the box, we would just crush them. We'd run power right at them. So what the Bills did last year is they played very disciplined ball, and what got them in last year's game was play action passes. They had Mark Andrews go down the seam for a 75-yard touchdown, and that ended up costing them the game.
Yeah, it's interesting. Lamar because you went to Louisville and he went to Louisville, so you've heard all the stories. One of the things I like about him is, and I have enough kids in my life, with kids, I'm always looking for small incremental growth. I don't expect, kids to go from, immature to wildly mature at 17, 18 years old. And one of the things I like about Lamar is the first year he came in, he felt thin. Next year he comes back, he looks thick. I thought last year he became a more patient thrower. This year I thought he got better in the red zone situationally. I mean, when you coming into the league, did you expect Lamar to be this dynamic? What did you heard? What have you seen?
I knew that with the right offensive coordinator, he could have great success in the NFL. No doubt about it. Just watching him, what he did in college. And, and that wasn't against slouch teams. It was Florida State teams with multiple NFL defenders on it. He was still making plays. I knew he could, but if you tried to fit Lamar into just a prototype NFL offense, sit in the pocket and throw the football, he wasn't going to excel, especially early. When I found out that he was going to Baltimore, their run game coordinator at the time was Greg Roman. They ended up promoting him to offensive coordinator after Lamar's first year, and I knew that was a match made in heaven. Would I have guessed that he'd be the unanimous MVP in his second year? Probably not, just because it doesn't happen that often in the National Football League. But what he was able to do, excelling in that offense, with them building the entire offense around his skill set, allowed him to just flourish early.
Eric Wood does some radio analyst work as well for the Bills, who are on fire, and we have said for the last 6-7 weeks we think they're the best team in the NFL. A couple of broad questions here. You tell me, I think Urban Meyer is going to work, mostly because I think he's a culture builder, and the NFL game looks more like the college game, and it didn't in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. But I do have a question. Go to the end of your career, your 8th, your 9th year. If a college guy would have walked in, would you have been cynical? Because I do wonder about how veterans view a college coach.
Yeah, and this is a college coach that's never been in the NFL. To give you some perspective, Colin, I was there in Buffalo when we brought in Doug Marrone, who was previously the head coach at Syracuse.
Yeah.
But Doug had been in the NFL. He was under Sean Payton in New Orleans. He had been on some different staff, so he had NFL experience. It's a little bit different. I think with Urban Meyer, it's going to be about getting coordinators that truly understand the NFL game, and not that Urban Meyer can't run an offense that would excel in the National Football League. It's just I would be a lot more confident in his success if he brings in coordinators that have NFL experience.
Yeah.
All that said, I think he is a culture builder. Like you said, he's the third winningest coach of all time, win percentage-wise, in college football. And I reached out to a former teammate of mine in Buffalo, Brandon Spikes, who played on the national champion Florida teams, and I said, hey, you think Urban is going to be able to treat guys at the NFL level like they need to be treated, if that makes sense? Saban didn't do well, hopping into the NFL. And from what I've heard, it's a lot about how he treated guys. And Spike said, if you are a baller, he will treat you right. And so in Jacksonville, I would assume that some of the young guys are going to get the college Urban Meyer treatment, but I'd imagine that at this point of his life, he knows how to treat those vets in the way that they want to be treated.
Finally, Eric Wood, give me your upset. Which game do you look at and think, okay, underdog, this is tasty. Where's the upset for you this weekend?
Man, history would say there's going to be one. I would love for it to be the Browns over Kansas City, but I just don't see that happening. And the reason I would love for that to happen would be because then Buffalo, if they got a win against Baltimore, that would give them their third playoff game. I guess just based upon my experience with him in the past and know what he can do in the playoffs, I guess if I had to pick one, I'd say Tom Brady pulling that upset there. You got the Rams. Their defense is so good, but with Jared Goff and his thumb, I just don't love them getting the win in Lambeau. And then I'm not going to pick against my Bills. I've done enough media this week, and we're not making bets on here. It does me no good not to blow my homer status on here. So I guess give me Tom Brady and the Bucs if I had to pick one.
By the way, last question. You were in a playoff game before. Is it different? Did you feel a little different in a playoff game?
Yeah, definitely. Throughout my career, I'd always heard that from the preseason to the regular season, it goes up a notch, whether that's intensity, speed of the game, the stakes are higher. Going to the playoffs, it goes up another notch. And I got to only experience it one game. And I feel like with Buffalo last week, having most of their team back from the year before when they blew that 16-0 lead against Houston, I think that benefited them a lot last week. I thought they, even though they came out a little tight, it wasn't like they were making bonehead mistakes. It wasn't like they were caught off guard by anything. I think they were more prepared, and that's where playoff experience can be a tremendous asset for teams.
Good stuff, Eric. We'll talk soon. Go Bills. Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Yep, my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.